recently, this is some sort of the anti-Japanese movement in China. So I'm a little bit sort of concerned, you see, about my visit here. Although, you see, this visit, you see, several months ago, almost since last year, or since several years, you see, more or less, you see, we planned, you see, annually, you see, visit, because there are so many sort of invitations. And also, I myself also feel some useful now to, I think, the Buddhist community. It is my duty, you see, to share some of my own sort of knowledge as well as my sort of experience. Then also public level. So therefore, you see, since some time back, I now annually, you see, visit this country. So, so I a little bit sort of, I say, hesitant. So then, in Hunter University, Hunter College in New York, see, occasionally I meet some Chinese professors, some Chinese students, and this time also. So I asked them, what do you feel my sort of planned visit to Japan? Then, you see, all the audience, many Chinese, they club, they support my visit to Japan like that. So then, as usual, wherever I go, my number one sort of commitment is on the level of I'm a human being. I'm one of the 7 billion human beings. The future of humanity is everybody's sort of interest, everybody's sort of future depends on humanity. So therefore, as my own share, some kind of sense of responsibility about humanity, on that level, I always see sharing with people, particularly younger generation. Now, in order to create happy world, happy humanity, the ultimate source of happiness or joyfulness is within ourselves, our mental attitude. So I always make clear the ultimate source of a happy life is not money, not material facility, but within ourselves, warm-heartedness. That my number one commitment to make clear. And also, I always make sort of as an example my own case. In spite of difficult sort of circumstances, my mind is quite peaceful. So this is my number one commitment. Number two commitment, as a Buddhist monk, I consider we all believers have sort of responsibility to create harmony among the different religious sort of traditions. You know, it is extremely sad in the name of religion, more conflict, including killing, violence. It is really very, very unfortunate that religious faith also become a factor divide human community. So therefore, that is, I feel, totally due to ignorance, due to lack of realistic approach. So therefore, my second commitment is promotion of religious harmony. So these two things, till my death, I committed. Then third commitment about Tibet sort of struggle. That now since 2 years, over 1 year, I handed over all my legitimate political authority, handed over to elected political leadership. So actually, about 11 years ago, we achieved elected political leadership. Since then, my position is a semi-retired position. Now, over 1 year ago, now I totally retired from political responsibility, like that. So now, as a third commitment nowadays, I'm to Buddhist. I'm urging or suggesting or appealing Buddhist. We Buddhist, whether Tibetan Buddhist or Chinese Buddhist, Japanese Buddhist, Korean or Vietnamese, or Burma or Thai or Sri Lanka, so on, any Buddhist should be 21st century Buddhist. That means Buddhist faith with fuller knowledge about, you see, Buddhist system or the whole sort of what's there. That's concept. So that now I'm sort of doing every occasion when I meet, you see, when I give some lecture on Buddhism to Buddhist, I always emphasize we must be 21st century Buddhist. We should not content Buddhism like ritual or some ceremony. That's old-fashioned. That's not sufficient, like that. So that's all. Now, questions.
So, and could you tell me, what do you think of these deteriorating relations between Japan and China in the international community?
Basically, I think some recent sort of my talk, I mentioned China needs Japan, Japan needs China. So every nation on this planet, and also East need West, West need East. That's today's reality. So people should think, or including leaders should think, more holistic view. That's the reality. So small disagreement, small sort of different interest should not sort of create the basic sort of relations, right? Some sort of what's the difficulties about the basic relation. That's, I think, due to short-sighted and narrow-minded. So should think more broadly. That's my view.
I would like to ask two questions. First one is, there is also a conflict between Korea and Japan regarding some small island in the eastern sea of Korea. So would you make a same answer or comment to this matter?
Same. Again, Korea needs Japan, Japan needs Korea.
And my second question is, I think that saying is one thing and doing is another. I mean...
but that's hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy.
That's bad.
So my question is, if you said that we need some kind of a holistic view to solve this kind of a problem, if you said that, it is right. Everybody can agree with that. But as I said, saying right thing is different from doing something because people tend to focus or concentrated or pay attention to the present thing rather than doing something right. So how do you make people do the right thing? That is my second question.
Ultimately, depend on education. These people, leaders, you see, the way they grown up, and also education. You see, I think lacking. I think the existing education system, firstly, not adequate to pay attention about moral principle. Number one. Then secondly, different nations' education, they also say emphasis, perhaps in a little bit extreme way, or say nationalism. So these such education, instead of growing holistic, more realistic sort of concept, but create more biased, too much emotional views develop because of such education system. Now in China, too much emphasis nationalism. Of course, Chinese people must love their nation, their culture, but go extreme, almost like it's a whole sort of planet. Chinese culture is best. Chinese language is best language. China nation is the best. Such sort of extreme view is not good. When you are in Tibet, you also have that kind of sort of feeling. Oh, Tibet is the best nation, that kind of thing. It's wrong. It's sort of too much emotion involved. That's not realistic. So therefore, I think we can't blame present generations certain sort of narrow-minded thinking. We can't blame them. They've grown up so such an atmosphere. It's just because of the too much emphasis, their own immediate interest. Like that. I think these people, yes, translate, yes.
そこで、究極的にはこの問題は
wait. I think these people, I think some cases I'm not very sure. But generally, I think these people, you see, they themselves feel their way of approach is the best interest for their own sort of nation or their own concern. Out of ignorance, like that. Previously, in the past, among the different religious traditions, as I am Buddhist, I telling people Buddhism is best. But after sort of meeting with different sort of people from different religious tradition, then now I feel you cannot say one religion is best. You can't say that. Like medicine, pick up one medicine, this is best. Can't say that. Medicine, in order to judge medicine because that good is related with illness. Certain patient, to certain patient, certain illness, this medicine is best. So similarly, religion, according one individual's mental disposition, and their sort of mental sort of circumstances, and then to these people, this religion is best. So you can't say generally this religion is best. So like that. So previously, due to lack of knowledge, due to lack of contact, so sometimes it's a little bit of prejudice of thinking. Now becoming more sort of contact and more realistic, then I never say Buddhism is the best. Of course, philosophical field, Buddhism is much more sophisticated, like that. But we cannot say Buddhism is the best religion.
ダララム法、今年ですね、こういうふうにおっしゃったんですね。中国が民主化になったら、チベット人と漢民族の問題が1週間で問題が解決ができると、こういうふうに、法様がアメリカで言われたと。今は尖閣諸島の問題で中国人と日本人 今対立してる。中国民主化になったらこういう問題解決できるのかできないのか、ぜひ法様から聞きたいと。それもう一点ですね、もうすぐ中国共産党大会18回大会北京でやる。法様、日本いるの立場ですね、そういう中国共産党に対してのコメントが、お願いします。
Yes, translate. Danke, danke. Yes, as you see, I think a few years I expressed, once you see China become open society, free information, rule of law, more democratic sort of more democratic principle, then many issues can solve, at least reduce these problems. So this the issue that is island, I think, you see, can be much easier to deal. Close society, and I think Chinese people, I heard, you see, they some kind of recent sort of anti-Japanese movement. I heard some French shops also, you see, burned or something. Do not know much of detail, but simply, you see, some emotions, do like that. So these, I think, due to lack of information. So you see, people, I think some because of the people, you see, get this sort of official explanation. Oh, the Japanese very much sort of stay bad for us during Second World War. Japanese, you see, because of the too much atrocity. That kind of too much sort of propaganda or because of that. Because of this, because of the Oshoshia. What was the English word? Rhetoric. Or what called rhetoric? Isn't it? Rhetoric. Oh, too much rhetoric. That word. You see, the innocent people, due to lack of information, lack of awareness, but simply then go like that. So once you see things open, you see all sorts of information there, then people will judge. This complicated situation can solve calmly, peacefully. So there's relations, the open society, a more democratic sort of principle, that these things becoming much easier to solve. Even not solve immediately, will not create much sort of anxiety like that. The 18th party meeting, difficult to make comment. You see, everything top secret, state secret. Frankly speaking, even I made some comment, no use. Nobody listened. You can report on your newspaper, that's all, nothing, no use. So So actually, the making comment, some sort of useless because of some useless point where waste of time. No use.
そこで第一
I think overall, I usually say analyze this way. Last over 60 years, Chairman Mao's era, then Deng Xiaoping era, then Jiang Zemin era, then Wu Jintao era. So each era, so there is some change. Same Communist Party, same authoritarian system, but due to new reality, the party also has some sort of ability to act according to new reality. So now new reality, I think goal, as Wu Jintao stated, build harmonious society, stable society. So for stable, I think the gap rich and poor must reduce. For that reason, also you need independent judiciary, free press, rule of law. These are very, very important. Like those capitalist country. But there is a regulation. So, because the various different regulations, some sort of check. And then I think in order to create genuine harmony entirely based on cooperation based on trust or friendship. So trust, friendship, need openness, secrecy, and using force brings suspicion, fear. That's just opposite of the harmony. So the goal, harmony, wonderful. Stability, wonderful. But method, use secrecy, censorship, and bully. I think only China, maybe, the budget of internal security forces budget is greater than defense budget. I think Japan, I think budget for internal security, I think much smaller than I think defense budget. I think this clearly shows, indirectly, they indicated the serious enemy is within the country. So therefore, you see, these things are something wrong, their system. I really feel that during Sino-Japanese War or during Civil War, in wartime, secrecy is method. You have to keep secret. And then second, suspicion, distrust, also something relevant. And use sometimes, you see, ruthless, also quite relevant during wartime. Then, during peaceful time, these are irrelevant. But then, unfortunately, I think you may agree, I think the communist system, communist leader, the wartime sort of mentality, that become part of their culture. That's, I think, big mistake. That's why I think original Marxism, that's a good point. I myself also used to consider as far as socio-economy theory is concerned, I'm Marxist. I still believe in Marxist economy theory. There are good points. But this system, eventually, during Bolshevik Revolution, civil war, and also some threat from outside. So certain sort of practice developed under that circumstances. Now that eventually become part of their whole sort of way of life. That's, I think, their mistake. So now my point is, now Wu Jintao's era passed. Now Xi Jinping, coming President Xi Jinping, I think, you see, there's no other alternative except, you see, some political change, some political reform. Economy reform already there. So a lot of, sort of development. That also, you see, brought some good things. I think millions of Chinese, now they above poverty, livelihood, you see, improve. Good. And economy sort of power also now gain. Good. But without other sort of also the regulation or the method, this gap, huge gap, rich and poor. Just about 2 weeks ago, you see, I met some group Chinese from mainland China. One poor peasant, Holland, very poor farmer, old. His sort of dress, very poor. Face also very poor. Not like your face. Very smart. Very, very poor. And I asked about his condition of his village. Really terrible. Very poor, a lot of difficulties. But the local authority suppose helping them, supporting them. No. They only concern their money and use their position, their power only for their own pocket money. So that poor sort of peasant expressed to me, you see, very sad, very sad. I think the original purpose of revolution is serving the millions of working class people. Eventually, the organization, the Communist Party, originally, you see, aiming, serving poor people, against exploitation. Now, eventually, the party itself now exploiting people. So now, I think the new leadership, I think, have to look at this reality. Then, accordingly, now time come must carry reforms. Just rhetoric, just to repeat rhetoric, because rhetoric not sufficient. As you mentioned, nice things mentioned. Oh, great leadership of Communist Party or something. Not much help. So you must do something. Clear, as you mentioned. Absolutely right. Like that. So.
Your Holiness, the whole world has many issues to solve. We are in a very deep economical crisis. And many countries, including America, China, and most probably in the near future Japan, many countries in Europe, are changing government, are going through elections. Now, what is your opinion about democracy? In America, it's 4 years. In Japan, they have changed the prime minister 3 times in a year and 6 in 6 years, 1 every year. Also in Europe, in Italy, we change government very often. In China, the next leadership, who is going to be nominated next week, is going to rule at least 10 years, maybe more. What is your idea or a comment on governance? Is it better democracy or another system?
Oh, there's no question. Democracy is the best system. So when I sort of explain why I resign, and not only me personally resign, but also almost 4th-century-old Tibetan tradition, Dalai Lama institution automatically become head of both temple and spirituality. Now that formally ended. So at that time, I explained, world belongs to humanity, and different nations, you see, belongs to that nations of the people, not a religious leader, not queen or king, like that. I really respect Japanese sort of royal family. I really respect. And as well as the British monarchy, I really respect. And particularly his sort of, I mean, her Majesty's sort of son, Kazakh community. Prince Kazakh. Prince Charles. A very good friend of mine. I really admire. But both Japan and Great Britain belongs to people, not royal family. So now the best way to rule the country by people is the people's elected leadership. I think like Switzerland, small country. So there is some, I think, more effective sort of democratic system. You see, each district, their sort of plan, their future, the people, they sort of discuss and decide. Unlike India, United States, or China, Japan, huge country, huge population, that you cannot do. So through election, you see, they choose leader, and that leader, since people choose, therefore he have to carry accountability to the people. Then, even you see, the not complete term, finish, completed. If the parliament, so no confidence, can change. I think in the past we have some sort of the expression about your former prime minister. So like that. So these things, you see, I think democratic system is the best. Although that does not mean democratic system is perfect. There are some sort of holes or drawbacks. But among the existing sort of system, I think democratic system is the best. There's no question.
Our prime minister, former prime minister, resigned. So he gave up politics.
I think
So maybe he will
not necessarily voluntarily, happily resign. Due to under pressure, you see, he resigned. Not like me. You see, quite popular. Everybody support me, but I voluntarily, happily resign. I think you cannot compare your prime minister resignation and my resignation. You cannot compare that.
I'm sure that Mr. Berlusconi is listening to this.
I know him. I met, you see, his previous sort of prime ministership. Yes. I met him. He's a very nice person. So I feel sort of, I want to express my sadness.
Invite him to the Ramsala, please.
That what Italian press will say, I don't know. Thank you. Thank you. As far as my first commitment and the second commitment is concerned, I think you media people also have sort of important role to educate people. Ultimate source of inner peace is within ourselves, not on money, not power. And then also, in spite of different philosophical view, all major religious traditions have same message of love, compassion, forgiveness, and the same potential to serve humanity. So on that basis, harmony, cooperation, serving humanity, including environment issue. That's, I think, very important. So media people, you see, should take some sort of responsibility in these two fields, educate people. Clear. Thank you.